Welcome to English Stories Journey. Listen, relax, and grow your English with every story. Long ago, there was a story about a great island called Atlantis. Many people say it was the most beautiful place on Earth. The island was big, rich, and full of life. Some say it was even larger than a country. It was in the middle of the ocean, far away from other lands. The people of Atlantis were strong, smart, and creative. They built high buildings, clean streets, and wonderful gardens. Their houses were made of white stone and shiny metal. The sun always shone over Atlantis, and the air smelled fresh and sweet. At the center of the island stood a great palace. Inside lived the king of Atlantis, whose name was Atlas. He was fair and wise. The people loved him because he cared about peace and happiness. Under his rule, everyone had food, clean water, and work to do. Atlantis was also known for its knowledge. The people studied the stars, the sea, and nature. They invented machines that could move heavy stones and bring water from the mountains. Many visitors came from other lands to learn from the Atlanteans. But not everyone believed the island was real. Thousands of years later, a Greek philosopher named Plato wrote about Atlantis. He said it was a perfect society that suddenly disappeared. Some people thought it was only a story. Others believed it truly existed and waited to be found under the sea. Even today, many explorers search for Atlantis. Some say it is under the Atlantic Ocean, others believe it sank near Greece or even near South America, but no one has ever found it. Still, the story of Atlantis lives on, the story of a great island that rose to power and then vanished without a trace. The legend begins not with destruction, but with hope, when Atlantis was the brightest jewel in the ocean.
Life in Atlantis was peaceful and full of joy. The people of the island lived in harmony with nature. They loved music, art, and learning. Children went to special schools where they studied not only reading and writing, but also the stars, the sea, and plants. The Atlanteans were very good builders. They created strong bridges, golden temples, and wide roads. The city center was full of markets, where people sold fruits, spices, and bright fabrics from other lands. Merchants came by ship to trade gold and silver, and they always left amazed by the beauty of the island. Water was very important in Atlantis. There were beautiful canals running through the city, and small boats carried people from one place to another. Fountains with clear, cold water decorated the squares, and flowers grew around them all year. The people believed that the gods had blessed their land. They prayed to the god of the sea, Poseidon, who was said to be the protector of Atlantis. In the center of the palace, there was a golden statue of Poseidon riding a dolphin. Every year, people gave him gifts, pearls, fish, and beautiful shells, to thank him for calm seas and rich harvests. The Atlanteans were also very advanced in science. They knew how to use energy from the sun and water. They made machines that helped them build great monuments and travel faster. Their ships were strong, with white sails that shone like wings on the blue ocean. Everyone had their place in society. Farmers grew food, builders worked on new projects, teachers shared their knowledge, and artists painted beautiful pictures of nature and the gods. People respected each other and lived without wars. But as the years passed, things slowly began to change. The people became proud of their power and wealth. Some started to think they were better than others. They began to forget the old ways and the simple life their ancestors lived. The king, Atlas, grew older and wiser. He saw that pride and greed were growing in the hearts of his people. He tried to remind them that happiness comes from kindness and balance, not from gold or power. One evening, as the sun set over the ocean, The king stood on his balcony and looked at his shining city. "Atlantis is beautiful," he said softly, "but beauty alone cannot last forever." He didn't know that his words would soon come true. Far under the sea, the water began to move in strange ways. The wind sometimes blew too hard, and the ground began to tremble softly. The gods were watching.
At first, the people of Atlantis did not notice the changes. The days were still sunny, and the sea looked calm. But then small things began to happen, things that felt unusual. One morning, fishermen came back early. "The fish are gone," they said. "The sea feels strange. It is too warm and the waves are moving in circles." People laughed and said it was only the weather, but the fishermen looked worried. They had never seen the sea behave like that before. A few days later, the animals on the island began to act strangely. Birds flew away and did not return. Dogs barked at night for no reason. The ground shook a little, just for a few seconds, but enough to make cups and plates fall from the tables. King Atlas called his wise men to the palace. They looked at maps, stars, and sea charts. One of them, an old man with white hair, said quietly, "The gods are not happy. The balance of our world is broken." "What do you mean?" asked the king. "The people have become greedy. We take too much from the sea and the land. We have forgotten the old laws of respect. Poseidon's anger is mere." The king's face grew pale. He remembered the temple of Poseidon and the golden statue they had built. "Then we must make peace with the gods," he said. "We will give them gifts and prayers." So the next morning, the people brought offerings, flowers, food, and pearls to the great temple. But when they reached the altar, a strong wind blew. The sky became dark and thunder rolled across the sea. It was as if Poseidon himself was speaking through the storm. The waves hit the coast harder and harder. Boats broke free from the harbor. The people ran to higher ground, frightened. That night, Atlas could not sleep. He walked through his palace and listened to the wind howling outside. He thought about his people, his city, and the future. In the morning, the sky was quiet again. The sun came out and everyone hoped the danger was over. But deep below the surface, the earth was moving. Cracks opened on the ocean floor and fire started to burn beneath the sea. The oldest priests said the island was in danger. They begged the king to send the people away, to the nearby lands. But Atlas didn't want to believe that Atlantis, his home, his life's work, could ever fall. He looked out at the shining towers and said, "Atlantis will never die." But the sea had other plans. The next few days were strange and frightening. The sea that once brought life to Atlantis now looked dark and angry. The waves grew higher each day, and the wind never stopped. People whispered in fear. "The gods are punishing us," they said. King Atlas tried to stay calm. He ordered the people to stay in their homes and told the guards to watch the coast, but no one could stop what was coming. One night, the sky turned red. The moon looked huge and heavy over the ocean. Then, just after midnight, a terrible sound came from deep under the sea, a sound like the earth itself was breaking apart. The ground shook so hard that the tall towers fell. Streets opened like giant mouths, swallowing houses and gardens. People screamed and ran toward the hills, trying to save their children and families. At the same time, the ocean began to rise. A giant wall of water moved toward the city. Boats crashed against each other, and the harbor disappeared. Atlas stood on the steps of his palace and watched his city fall. His heart was breaking. "Forgive us, Poseidon," he cried. "Forgive my people." Lightning flashed across the sky. Thunder roared louder than ever before. The waves reached the palace, washing away the golden statue of Poseidon. The king and his guards tried to hold on to the pillars, but the water was too strong. In only a few hours, almost all of Atlantis was under the sea. The shining buildings, the gardens, the bridges, everything was gone.
Only the tops of a few towers could be seen for a short time before they too disappeared beneath the dark water. When the storm finally ended, the ocean was quiet again. The sun rose over an empty sea. There was no sign of the great island, no voices, no smoke, no music. Some people said a few ships escaped before the waves came. The survivors told the story of the lost island and the proud people who forgot the laws of the gods. They said that sometimes on a clear night, you could still hear the sound of bells coming from under the sea, the bells of Atlantis. From that day, the ocean covered the island completely. The sea was calm again, but something mysterious remained in the hearts of sailors. Whenever they passed that part of the ocean, they looked down into the deep blue water and wondered if the city still slept there, silent and golden.
Many centuries passed after Atlantis disappeared under the sea. The world changed. New countries were born, and old ones were forgotten. But the story of the lost island never died. Travelers and sailors told tales of a shining city under the water. When the sea is calm, they said you can see lights deep below, like gold stars in the ocean. Some said they heard music, soft and far away, as if the people of Atlantis were still singing under the waves. In Greece, an old philosopher named Plato wrote about Atlantis. He said the island was powerful and rich, but lost because of human pride. He described the tall towers, the golden temples, and the people who loved beauty more than kindness. His words made people dream and wonder for thousands of years. Explorers began to search for the lost city. Some looked in the Atlantic Ocean, others near the Mediterranean Sea, and some even near South America. They found broken stones under the water, strange shapes that looked like roads or walls, but no one could say for sure if it was really Atlantis. Scientists also tried to explain the story. Maybe it was only a legend, a way to teach people about balance and respect. Or maybe, they said, Atlantis was a real place destroyed by an earthquake and a great wave, a tsunami. No one knows the truth, but everyone agrees that the story of Atlantis carries an important message. No matter how strong or rich a civilization becomes, it must stay kind and wise. When people forget the laws of nature and the gods, they can lose everything, just like the Atlanteans did. Still, the legend gives hope too. It reminds us that beauty and knowledge can live forever in memory, even if the city itself is gone. The dream of Atlantis continues to inspire books, movies, and songs all over the world. Some believe that one day explorers will find the lost city, deep under the ocean floor, silent but still shining. Others think Atlantis is not a place, but an idea, the dream of a perfect world where people live in peace, love, and respect for the sea. When you listen to the sound of waves, you can imagine the towers of Atlantis rising from the deep, the people smiling, and the golden sunlight dancing on the water. And maybe, somewhere far below, the heart of Atlantis still beats, waiting to be discovered again. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe for more English stories.